Good morning, everybody. I hope we're having an awesome day. It is another warm but gorgeous day out here, and my computer thinks that I'm more interested in the Olympics, so I can't really tell. Oh, wait, there it is. It's 83 here. It's very sunny. It's been very, very warm the past handful of days, to the point where, I don't want Riley out too long because black puppy dog, bright sun, hot temperatures, not a good combination. So she's been, kind of annoyed, but she went to daycare yesterday and she got to play with her friend Lulu, who lives next door. Um, Next door, they are on a little vacation for like the ninth time this year. So that is very exciting that she gets to play because they can't play out back anymore because Lulu, injured all of her tendons basically running around. So she's not allowed to run anymore. So they can only play at daycare where they're, walking for the most part. But it was really exciting because, they were all the overnights got out early into the play area, and when I dropped Riley off, they immediately went to each other and started playing. So that was really, really fun. So who do we have here in the chat? Good morning, Jacqueline, who is firsties. Good morning, my awesome friend Steven of Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter. Good morning, Karen and Brian. Good morning, Charlotte. Good morning, Stephanie, who designed the pattern that I'm working on. Good morning, Colleen and Sean. Hey, how's it going? And good morning, Dale. So before I get sewing, I want to show a little cool thing that I purchased that came in the mail this week. Isn't it so cute? I got this from Donnell of Donnell Stitchery. Her husband and son are 3D printing things, and this is one of the things that they 3D printed. And I said, "Ooh, I want one." And so I shot her over an email and said, "Hey, how do I get me one?" And she sent me an invoice and said, "I need your address." The back has all the design too and everything. So it's a really cool 3D print. I'm going to have to find a place to put it. Maybe clean out a little cubby back here and start putting little tchotchkes. So that is awesome. Let's see who else showed up. I see Joyce showed up. Good morning, Kathleen. Hey, Donnell. I was just showing everybody my little 3D printed sewing machine that I got from you. Thank you very much for getting that made. Jacqueline picked hers up yesterday. So, yeah, today is going to be a fun day. I've mentioned to a couple people already that today is day one of a 9-day weekend. Yes, 9 days. I've got all next week off. I am excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I also have a whole lot of stuff that I need to get done during this week. I have things from, I got to get my car maintenance done. I got to make sure Riley gets to daycare on things. And I've got a whole lot of stuff to work on from quilting stuff. So I'm going to have to get my butt moving. Donnell asked if I saw the bottom. Yes. Yes, I did. The bottom is signed. That is from Donnell Stitchery. Good morning, Kathy. So I am working on Stephanie's pattern called Rock Candy. Don't exactly know why I printed this because the instructions are always so simple and awesome that they don't necessarily need to be printed. But I always like to have a printed copy that I'm working on. I have piles of squares that I am working on. I have some rows already completed, but I think what I'm going to try to do and convince myself to do. Oh, I know what that is. What I'm going to try to convince myself to do is get one of each of them, um, one of each of the blocks done on the live, and then I can then focus after that, getting all of the blocks done, and uh, at least the 9 patches. I'm working on 9 patches only today. Then I'm gonna have to come back at another time or figure out how I'm gonna get the. I think they're hourglass blocks, probably. Yep, that's what it looks like. Hourglass blocks. Sean says he loves this pattern. He needs to make it sometime when he has 6 minutes. Takes a little bit longer than 6 minutes, but Stephanie's patterns are always simple and they come together fairly quickly. So, what I am going to do is I am just going to lay out just the pattern of the blocks. As you see, I've already got some of them already sewn. But as I said, they're all a 9 patch. So it's got one color on the outside, one color on the inside. I'm obviously not going to give away any fabric sizes because this is not my pattern. And since I'm going to try to chain piece all these together, what I'm going to do is just lay out all however many blocks I'm making on top of each other. And then that will let me chain piece everything. Stephanie says she is still in Texas. I hope you had a blast at the retreat. I don't know if the retreat is still going on, but uh, everything that I know about you, I know you like to have fun everywhere you could have it, Stephanie. So I'm sure you had a awesome blast at the retreat. There are a lot of colors in this pattern, and I'm loving them all. My boss recently announced that she is planning on retiring at the end of the year. And when she said that, I was like, well, I should make you a quilt. Said it to me, not to her. And as I was thinking what quilt I should make for her, I realized I had this fabric already purchased for this quilt. And I have the pattern. And I wanted to make it, but I didn't have anybody intended when I purchased everything. So I'm like, this is going to be a perfect um, gift for her. And then this is the last set. So I think that this is going to be awesome. We also have a really fun thing planned for the label because, we have her whole team here that wants to be involved in her gift. So I've got something awesome for the label to get the whole team involved. So I'm kind of excited about that. Sean says Walter sounds like their kids don't rise until lunchtime. I kind of miss the days of me rising at lunchtime. But I can't say that well, When I worked third shift, I did that a lot because third shift. When I um, when I was in college, I I was up before everybody else on weekends, which was weird because I stayed up half the night. Which meant, when it was time to go to brunch, I had a specific time that I had to wait before I called my friends and said, "Hey, do you want to go to the cafeteria for brunch?" And what was worse is, the cafeteria was already open for like half an hour before I was allowed to call them. And I'm like, I'm hungry. So we had rules. So what I did is I laid out all my blocks. I took the far right side off because you can only sew one row at or one column at a time. So I'm just going to sew these columns in a row in a chain. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then once I get everything off of that chain, then I can bring them in and then add the other piece. And that should hopefully get me to the point where I will have all the blocks going fairly quickly. I had thought about other methods of trying to piece these, but I was like, I think this is going to be the easiest. Because a 9 patch has, what is it, 4 pairs together and then an extra patch. So I had also thought about just sewing a whole bunch of pairs and then getting all the pairs together, but that would mean that I had a combination of rows and columns. I'm like, that does not sound exciting. Good morning, Michelle of Michelle's Crafts and More. I've noticed that a lot of folks that are showing up now have been up since at least Sean's live. Sean had a fun live this morning. And the awesome thing about non-directional fabric is I don't have to actually think in these rows which direction I'm supposed to be sewing. I hinted on my vlog last week that I have a couple fun projects happening next week. One of them I have to do a little bit of math today because I didn't do it yesterday. Bad Russ. And then I have to go probably Monday pick up some fabric from the shop to work on that. The only thing that I will tell you about this little bit of a surprise is it's going to involve Tula Pink's Tabby Road. So I'm very excited. Good morning, Dale, who says hello, Russ, and everyone else. So what is everybody working on? I'm halfway thinking about just grabbing my giant list, putting it on like a whiteboard, and just starting to check things off. But I don't know if my whiteboard is big enough for my list. And I also don't know where my whiteboard markers are. I know I have a whiteboard in markers because I purchased those when I got my long arm, because you're supposed to doodle to help give you some idea of motion memory. I don't doodle enough. I don't feel like my doodling skills are good. But the problem is, if I don't practice, my doodling skills aren't going to get better. I've been relying a lot on the pantograph because I like when you have a design that works well with the quilt. Instead of trying to, make something up. Jeannie is working on Cotton Cut's Tree of Life. I did not sign up for that one, partly because I'm, trying to cut back on some of my purchases, but it hasn't. But I am already so far behind on what was the other one called? I've already forgotten which one it is. The last one that they started back in the spring. I have like 3 clues done. And I'm like, I need to get them done, especially since one of them is for a coworker. So that one definitely needs to be done by Christmas. So now that I have one row of each of the color combinations sewn. So I'm just going to clip them off in the groups of 3 for each of the rows. And I'm tossing them over to the side. I'm not ironing anything quite yet. You can. But if I'm already going to be ironing the pieces when the rows are done, I'd rather just do it one time. It takes a little bit less time to iron everything at once as opposed to twice. Dale loves the Tabby Road fabric. It's a lot of fun. And amazingly enough, I have some of the OG Tabby Road fabric. It's not much that I have left. I gave some of it to Adam of Adam Sews. That's how I was able to con him into giving me, or not giving, but making me the totes that he made me. But I still have quite a bit of it left, and I think I'm going to use what I have left as the backing. Kathleen is trying to make an Irish chain for her granddaughter's 3rd birthday. She loves zombies, but can't find any zombie fabric. Can't even find Halloween is coming up. Why can't you find any of that? I don't normally advocate for the big box store. That starts with a J. But they usually are really good about novelty prints and seasonal. Whereas most quilt shops, they'll get seasonal, but they get seasonal like 6 months in advance. So it's a little bit harder to find Halloween as Halloween approaches from quilt shops, from the standard designers who do that. But the big box shops that do the licensed fabric and novelty prints, you usually can find them there. Good morning, Guess Who, Nancy. Charlotte says she likes the way that I'm putting these blocks together. Chain piecing is a lot of fun, and when you group them in the colors, everything stays together. And as I open them up, I'm looking at over here is my other piles. So I'm making sure that they go in the correct order. And don't tell Stephanie, but I'm not going to follow her pressing directions. Her pressing directions are awesome. They're great. But if I do my pressing directions, it's not going to change the way the block will be put together. And it's not going to impact any joining because in the pattern there is no themes that you have to worry about except for the entire block. But what I'm going to do is I'm always going to press towards the darker fabric in these rows. And that also gives the whole, like with her pressing directions, it gives each row will nest together in here. But the added benefit of pressing towards the dark is I will be able to twist the seams when I get everything together. Because as long as everything goes to the dark in the rows, whenever you put the rows together, all your seams can twist. Brian says the J store has Halloween fabric out now. I'm pretty sure the J store has Christmas fabric out too. But the last time I went in there, they did have really large Halloween displays. The Orange Home Improvement store apparently has a giant skeleton dog out. My cousin bought one. Kathleen says Tiny Stitches, which is one of our local shops out here, had a tiny bit of Halloween fabric, but nothing anywhere else. Yeah, that's what I said. Tiny Stitches had their Halloween. Well, as much as the owner loves Halloween, she's had to cut back on the amount that she buys because it doesn't sell as much. I don't understand. I want to buy all of it, but I can't. I have Halloween kits from like 3 years ago I haven't done yet. But she has cut down quite a bit on their Halloween purchases. And they go way out for Christmas lately. But yeah, the like I said, Joann's. As much as I don't like to, give stores advertisement, they are really good when it comes to novelty prints and seasonal fabric in the novelties. And as long as you're careful with what you buy, you're going to get a quality product. Because I know people try to say a lot of the fabric in these non mom and pop quilt shops, they say it's not good quality, and some of it isn't, but a lot of it still really is. And they have also started recently carrying Kona solids. And if anybody tries to say Kona's not good quality, they've got a problem there. Get a couple more pieces, then I can start ironing. Which I should probably turn my iron on. Get it heating up. So yeah, I'm very excited about having the entire week off. I do have to log into work for about 5 minutes on Thursday because there is a task that I could teach some. I could take like 20 minutes to teach somebody how to do it, or I can do it myself in 5. And I'm like, I would rather, give up 5 minutes. I can go upstairs, log in, do the task, and log out, as opposed to taking like 20 minutes and teaching somebody how to do it. Then they're going to end up calling me and saying, "What did we talk about with this?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I should have done it myself." Jeannie asks if I am using my Tula iron. No. I purchased the Tula iron mostly to take on retreats and like if I do classroom sews and stuff, where I would have my iron available to me, not necessarily for everyday use. And it's mostly because it's a corded iron. Yeah, it's corded. I had to make sure I was right. And I have the Panasonic iron. This is the Panasonic iron. It looks different because I don't have the water reservoir there. And the Panasonic iron does everything that I absolutely need it to. It stays hot long enough for me to do everything that I absolutely need it to. So that's what I use for my everyday ironing. It's like I said, it's wonderful. Would have liked it if it was in purple. But yeah. So this first block, I don't think it really matters, but I think I'm going to press everything towards the pinks. Just because, yeah, pinks seem like it'll be better. So, yes, I have basically spent $80, how many dollars that iron was, for something that I will probably not use for the first time until December. And I'm okay with that. I've also started to discover that I need to fix this seam first. I need to get a couple things. I don't want to say duplicated, it's going to be triplicated at this point because I have my YouTube area here, and like for my rotary cutter, if I forget to grab my rotary cutter from my cutting table back there, I have to get up, go grab it, and everything. So I want to get a rotary cutter that's just solely for here. I have a few rulers that I keep that are solely for here. I have a cutting mat that I keep that is mostly solely for here. I bring it on retreats as well. But I also have what I call my go bag, which is what I bring to retreats and classes because you still have things that you need to carry for classes. So, you're a lot of things you need to have duplicates of if you do classes. That way you don't pack and forget something. But I also have decided that, there's a handful of things that I may need a third of. And a rotary cutter is one of those. So I purchased one. It was on sale. I'm waiting for it to arrive. Since I'm chain piecing, these look better going to the outside because that green is darker. Means these will go in the inside. I'm just doing a quick finger press first. That way when I get it to the iron, it'll have a little bit of sense as to what direction it wants to go. Good morning, Josie. I hope you're having a great day. As I almost just ironed it in the wrong direction. Which again, it goes back to pressing is a suggestion, not a requirement. Unless you have seams that need. And the great thing about making sure everything is nesting is you have something to line up against, and it helps make your intersections tight. The other thing that's going on is everything is sewn together. This is kind of called web piecing. And it looks like in this case the yellow is a little bit darker. I'll press that way. Web piecing just helps make sure everything stays in the correct location so that you don't accidentally flip a row upside down. I have flipped rows upside down many times. Once I didn't realize it until after the quilt top was together. And I said, I am not undoing this. My cousin still loves the quilt. It keeps her warm. And the other thing that I'm doing is they are still together at this point. So I can align them up. And you've seen me do this, but probably didn't understand why. I will start a few stitches. Once I have the row started on the sewing machine, that's when I will clip the threads apart. And the main reason why I clip the threads apart is because when I want to spin the seams later, I need to have something, or I need to make sure that that thread isn't keeping the seam from spinning. You can clip the thread after you've sewn, but for me, it's easier to see the thread while it's still open. Good day, Jen. How are you today? I've got 3 more of these over here. This one, hold on a second. Excuse me. This one is definitely going to this darker blue. These 9 patches are where it's very easy to press to the dark side, because then you don't have to think. If you were doing a whole bunch of these that were touching, then it would be better if your outsides were always dark, your 4 outside corners are always dark, and then everything would press nicely to have everything 9 block touching. But that's the only time that I would really be concerned is of making sure everything is. Otherwise, you probably do need to check the pattern writer's pressing directions. Thank you, Kathleen. I'm thankful that it was a tiny sneeze. I have sneezed so hard in the past that I've knocked ribs out of place. And that requires a visit to the chiropractor. And it's a lot of pain until I got to the chiropractor. Good morning, Barb. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Ouch was right, Kathleen. It only happened once. I went to the school nurse. That was the first time I had gone to the school nurse. And the response that I got from her is why I started calling the wellness center the school nurse. Where she basically just said, if you fractured the rib, there's nothing we can do about it. And basically the answers were, there's nothing we can do about it, there's nothing we can do about it. And I was like, ugh. And I texted my chiropractor and I said, okay, this is what happened. And she called me and said, unless you're 80 with osteoporosis, you did not crack a rib. And I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, come see me after work and we will adjust you. And oh, I was bad. I was broken in different areas. She had me on blocks for a while. She did this, she did this. And then as soon as she just pushed everything back into place, I let out a little whimper. And I was like, I feel so much better now. It was one of those relief pains. I would almost call it if you've ever gotten a splinter and you know how much it hurts while it's in there, but you know how much it hurts the second it comes out. Like it hurts a lot when it comes out. And then everything calms down slowly as your body realizes, oh, there's nothing to worry about anymore. And yeah, so it's a it it that's how it felt. Except, it was just huge, huge levels. Candace says Tiny Stitches got a chunk of money from her recently. She joined the Bag Lady program. They do have a good Tilda section. The Bag Lady program is mostly nice. Um, it's it's definitely worth it because you get 5% off of every purchase that you get there. So, I mean, there are exceptions to things that you can't bag lady, but so yeah, that's really nice. And then there, what is it? 3 punches you get a year? Four, three? The birthday punch is what I enjoy using because I will go in, and I normally go in on my birthday. They don't ask you when your birthday is, so you can use your birthday punch any day of the year. But I will go make a fairly large purchase with my birthday punch, and at that point, it pays for itself. Except if I didn't try to make it pay for itself, I would have saved more money. Barb says, beautiful day there in Michigan, 70 degrees and no humidity. I wish I could say no humidity. If the humidity levels were down, I would probably be a little happier. Of course, if my air conditioner pushed more cold air upstairs, I would definitely be happier. But the fact that heat rises and cold air falls means there's a several degree difference between my upstairs and downstairs. And I've tried to get my HVAC people to fix it, and they say in order to fix it, which I know there's leaky ducts all over the place, but they said in order to fix it, they need to open up my ceilings to give me an estimate. And I was like, you're not opening up my ceilings unless you're fixing it. And they're like, well, we can't give you an estimate unless we open up your ceilings. And I said, you're not opening up my ceilings unless you're fixing it. And I need to know how much it's going to cost before I tell you to fix it. Because if they're going to tell me it's going to be, $1 million after they open up my ceilings, then obviously I'm like not going to pay for that. But on the flip side, if it was going to be, they wouldn't even tell me how much on average it should cost. So I was like, we're at an impasse. I'm frustrated with that. And they also wouldn't close the ceilings. I would, even if they did the work, I would have to pay somebody else to close my ceilings. And one, drywall is not my specialty, and two, ceiling drywall would definitely not be my specialty. Done itty bitty patches on a wall, not on a ceiling. Because gravity. Charlotte says it's tax-free weekend in Texas. Wonder if that includes quilting fabric. Tell them you're using the quilting fabric to make dresses for your kids. Therefore, it qualifies under clothing. Yeah, that's it. This is the last one for the first round of stitches. Kind of like how quilt shops use the loophole of people are buying fabric to make masks, so that's how they're able to stay open during the pandemic. Use loopholes in your favor. I tried to do that once though, and it didn't work. We had a system at my previous job, and they said that the username must be your first initial and your last name, and it had to be at least 6 characters. And I said my last name is 4 characters, so my first initial plus my last name is only 5. Therefore, I cannot have an account on the system, so I don't need to do anything in it. And they said, you need an account. And I was like, well, I can't make an account with the rules. And like, I was just trying to push the exact letter of the rule. And in the end, I joked that they changed my last name to Christ because they used my middle initial as part of the username. I am also slowly realizing that I did not carve out time to work on the long arm during my week off. So I need to adjust my what I hope to do on what days schedule. Because I have a quilt on the long arm. It's been there now for what, 3 weeks? Maybe longer. And actually, it has been longer. It's been a month because I was supposed to have brought it to Saturday Sampler last week for show and tell, or last month for show and tell. And I have everything planned. I just haven't had the energy after work. But if I'm not going into work and I'm not doing any work, then I should have energy after I spend the day in my sewing room to do the quilting that's been sitting on the long arm. And it's only because the long arm is in a different room that I am not going to try to start it in there, come in here, work on some blocks, then go back out there, have no idea if it stopped, if it ran out of thread, if it decided to do a nest somewhere, because I know the sounds of the long arm. So if I can't hear the long arm, I can't tell if something's going kaput. So I like to stay with it while it's running. Good morning, Maritza's Yarn and Crafts. He says, hola, so, buenos dias. And good morning, the Siberian Wind. How are you today? Two more to put the last row on, and then I'll just start pressing. And then I should be able to, after this live is over, finish the rest of the 9 patches. Which really goes to show how quickly Stephanie's patterns can go together. And they have a lot of impact when they are finished. And people are like, this must have taken you weeks to put together. And you're just saying in the back of my mind, no, it was a Stephanie pattern. It was fairly quick and easy. The Siberian Wind says she's good, just got done with her live and traveling home later on. That's always fun. Alrighty, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing one. There should be 7. But I'm not worried about it right now because I have piles there. I'll figure out which one I'm missing later. Let's talk about spinning seams. So, as I said, 1 row I push out, 1 row I push in, 1 row I push out. And that's only because I was going to the darker fabric. When you spin your seams, all your seams will not always go to the darker fabric. But I can just twist these open. Sometimes it's easier than others. Usually you also might need to grab a seam ripper. Where did it go? There it is. To pop like 1 or 2 seams in the corner just to make it lay. and you will get what appears to be a little tiny 4-patch in the center of your spun seam. Like this one, it went very easily. I'm still gonna pop that center because that one is wanting to go like that. This one's happy. One is mostly happy. Pop that one stitch. And after you press it, you're just going to make sure you press in the direction that everything spins. And it's almost like magic. You have a super flat block. In the back, it's almost like, I call it quilter's porn. Because it's so satisfying to see how flat your block is, how flat the front is. And I do not have any starch in this fabric, and it is laying very flat. So let's do this again. Charlotte says she loves this part. It is so much fun. You just got to be very careful that you try not to stretch your fabric too much. If you're stretching the inside of the seam, it's not going to be too bad, but if you stretch outside of the seam, it's going to be a little kind of annoying. And again, it's super flat, points all meet, and it's super satisfying on the back. That's one of my favorite tricks that I have learned, and I will do it anytime I have the opportunity. There was a quilt that I made, I forget how many years ago now. And it was just a whole bunch of, I think there were 16 blocks. So I put everything together in 4 patches, and I did this to the 4 patches. And then I took those 4 patches and made 4 patches out of those and did the same thing to the center of the 4 patches. And then I made those, again, bigger 4 patches into bigger 4 patches. So the entire quilt, I made it in the style of 4 patches. And when everything was said and done, the entire back was completely like flat and twisted just like this. I have a picture of it somewhere, and I'm like, this is so satisfying. But I just saw the time, and I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to go visit all of their favorite YouTubers So I'm just going to do a quick show of apparently all but one of the blocks because I don't know what I did with my missing block. Since like I said, there's supposed to be 7. So there's this one, and then this one. Those are the ones that are pressed. These rest aren't pressed, but they still look awesome. Or I do not remember what the fabric line is. 5. And this is 6. And I'm missing one. Like I said, I'm not certain where it is. I will figure it out shortly. I'll have to, like I said, I'll figure it out as soon as I get it set it on. Jeannie says you're right. Spinning the seams is satisfying. It it is. It takes a couple extra minutes, but the actual level of satisfaction just makes it worthwhile for me. As opposed to, like I said, I could have done what Stephanie suggested in the pattern, which was press one way, press the other way, and press the initial way. Seams would still nest, but you can't spin those because they're not going in opposing directions. When I do get a chance to do, like I said, anything that's like a 9 patch like this, and I know it's not going to line up against another seam, I will do any spinning that I can do. You won't see me spinning on a bike, but you will see me spinning my seams. But I'm going to let you guys go chit chat with other YouTubers the rest of the day. I know there's a lot of folks going to be out there live, and give them some love. There may be a surprise so at some point during the week. Like I said, I'm off all week, and I want to get more work done on this, and I just got to make sure the rest of my schedule that I'm trying to get lined up for the next month lines up properly. So be on the lookout for that. If I do a surprise, so I will have at least overnight notice. It is going to be probably around the same time, just on a work day. Great for people who are retired, not great for people who aren't, but replays are just as good as being there live. So I think that's going to be about it for today. Yeah. Enjoy everybody out there and have a wonderful weekend, whether it be a 2-day weekend, a 9-day weekend like I have, or an infinite day weekend if you're retired. Bye.